Okay. Any other question?
Yes. Sir, please explain the difference between knowing and assuming in more detail, because it is little bit I am little bit confused. And once I know the reality, is there any reason to assume further, or it will be based on knowing directly?
Yeah. There is lot of confusion between knowing and assuming, because we have been taking assuming as knowing. So, when you come to hear something and we have the information, we think that we know. So, most of the time what we do today is assuming, and we take it for knowing, right. So, it is important to see the difference between knowing and assuming. That is one thing that I will discuss. Second is that when you know, then also you will assume it to be correct, right. That assuming is there, the accepting is there, So, assuming means there would mean accepting what I have known. So, I might assume without knowing, or might assume after knowing. So, assuming itself is not something wrong. The problem is with assuming without knowing, right. So, assuming will take place anyway, you call it assuming or call it accepting, that will anyway take place. So, let us look at this. So, what we are saying is that knowing means to see the reality as it is in its completeness by direct observation, direct observation by the self, right. And when we have the knowing, it is definite, it is continuous, right, and it is universal. So, for example, when we try to know human being, right, whatever we have studied about human being, right, is it definite, or it will change with one human being and the other human being? Definite. And this will remain the same in all time.
Yes.
So, all time you will find that human being is coexistence of self and body, right. As far as human being is concerned, it is always the coexistence of self and body, right, and it is universal. It applies to all human being at all places in all time, right. So, when you know something, right, it is definite, it is continuous, and it is universal in nature. But when you assume something, right, without knowing, that is not the case. Okay. For example, I may assume somebody to be a male, different from female, right. Therefore, I say that there are different types of human being. So, male are different, female are different, or people Hindu and Muslim, right, rich and poor, right. So, these are the different human beings. So, with assumption they look different, with understanding you can see that they are human beings, right, they are similar, right. Only thing is that they possess different amount of wealth, right, or when you talk about male and female, the body has different sex. As a human being they are the same, right. So, when you know something, it is definite, it is certain, it is universal. When you assume something without knowing, right, there is no certainty, right. So, as long as it is without knowing, the certainty is not there. When it is with knowing, then the certainty will be there because of knowing. So, when you know something, understand something, it becomes definite. When you are not knowing it, but assuming, you have whole lot of choice, right. So, today we have made so many differences between human being, right, on the basis of age, on the basis of sex, on the basis of color, right. So much of difference between white and black, and we think that white are superior than the black, right. But if you really understand human being, you would realize that they are a similar human being, right. Yeah, and so much of so that everybody who is little less white wants to become white. Right. Today you are buying creams for 10,000 rupees a kg, right, and wheat is for 20 rupees a kg. Now, why are you willing to pay 10,000 rupees a kg for cream? Because you want to become white, right. So, these kind of discriminations are possible because of assuming without knowing. With knowing, we will be able to realize that every human being is similar, right, because they are coexistence of self and body. The self has need for happiness which is continuous, which is fulfilled by right understanding and right feeling. The body has need for physical facility which is fulfilled by physiochemical things, right. The activity of the self of desire, thought and expectation is going on in the self, right, continuously, whether he is a black or a white, a male or a female, right. So, all these things can be seen, right, with knowing. Without knowing, we can assume anything, yeah, and that is what we have been doing. So, there is a very drastic difference between knowing and assuming, particularly between knowing and assuming without knowing. So, many of our beliefs today are there without knowing, right. If we start investigating into them, we may find that they are not correct, right. In fact, one of the way to really get rid of these beliefs and this preconditioning is to start verifying them. So, when we verify them, we will find what is right there, what is not right there. I keep taking this example, we have a belief, right, in our tradition that you must respect your elders, which is good, but what about youngers? Do we respect them or don't we respect them? Respect them. That means respect for human being. Why only elders? Right? But we are going with this assumption that we must respect elders, and it makes lot of difference. When you have this belief that you must respect elders, right, your attitude towards the younger is different. When you are calling a young boy, you say, hey, come here, right. And what do you think? That the child takes it, kind of in a right manner, or he feels offended? He feels offended, he feels disrespected, right. But he comes because if he does not come, as per your order, you are going to beat him, or at least punish him in some way or the other. So, he comes out of fear, not out of acceptance. Yeah. So, there is an opposition in the child, feeling of opposition for you, which goes on building up, and when you grow old and the child grows, young, then you are in trouble, and then he starts reflecting back or reacting back. So, with knowing human being, we see that every human being is similar. With assumptions, we may have so many differences, assumed for the human being. Yeah, that was the question.
Yes.
So, one of the way which you can work on is that look into your assumptions, right, which you have been having all through, and try to verify them. Find out whether they are based on knowing or not based on knowing, right. And when you know about it, right, what is the status of your assumption? Is it right? Is it not right? Yeah, so whole lot of homework can be done, because we have whole lot of assumptions based on your preconditioning and sensation. That we will see, in the next session when we talk about harmony in the self. We will see the majority of our desires and thought and expectations are based on the preconditioning. But that we will talk about it in the next lecture. So good. Very nice. Thank you very much.